Hey guys, this is Middleman K. Thanks for checking out this video. It'd mean a lot to me if you please like this video and share your thoughts by leaving a comment. And if you enjoy this type of content, please subscribe to the channel. Today, I want to talk about time and money. I want to go over how the mechanism of the two works and how what we choose to do with our resources can change the trajectory of the two. The graphs that I have displayed on the screen are the movement of time versus money. The meaning behind the visuals in generalized terms is that during our lives, when we have more time when we're younger, we generally have less money. And when we have more money, as we get older, we have less time. The view on the left is a linear chart in growth, showing what could be achieved passively and averaged out over time. Now the view on the right is more dynamic, and you'll notice the curvature on both time and money axes growing and intersecting at each other at a much faster rate. So what does it mean to achieve time and money intersection sooner in accordance with the graph? Well, what it means is that you'll have a better chance of being able to enjoy a better quality life from a younger age. And should you manage to retain that money and wealth until the end of your days in a wise fashion, you'll most likely end up having more money in your possession for a longer duration throughout your life. Now, why is money important to us? It's not everything, but it's important because it gives us the ability to do what we want when we want, essentially creating more options for us throughout life. So, as I said, it's not the most important thing in life, but in financial context, it certainly is a key part of it. So, wrapping it all up, how do we make that possible? It means that we need to make the most of our time to get the most out of our time. And time is money in this context, so the more money we can create and build on from an earlier stage in life, the higher chance of us being able to exponentially grow our capital with the time and the compound interest by our side. First, if your plan is to build wealth and get ahead, you need to do something that will reward you for more for your time, actively or passively. So a prime example is doing work of some kind, having a full-time salary, maybe your own business or somebody else's. That's your base wage. And what you earn on top of that and what you choose to put into investing or savings is what's really going to be the differentiating factor of the outcome of the two. So let's take a look at a couple of differences to put this into perspective a little better of what's a more conservative growth, which will be the graph on the left, versus what's more a exponential growth with the graph on the right. So what we'll do is we'll go to a compound interest calculator. And by the way, if you guys don't know what compound interest is, please let me know and I'll be happy to cover this in greater detail. But what we've got here at the moment is a default setting. So what we've got set here is a initial deposit set at $10,000 with a regular deposit we're intended to put in at an annual rate of $10,000. So you'll start off with 10K for savings or investing, and you're planning to continue to reinvest $10,000 each year for 35 years. Now, what I've got here is the annual interest rate is set at 1.5%. And I've said that as so because that seems to be more of the higher end of the savings interest rate that you could earn from just parking your money at a bank. So this is purely a extremely simplified fashion of a savings, and you're not even sure if you call it an investment, but a savings model, let's just say, that it gives you the visualization of what your capital growth will be over the span of 35 years, and also what your compound interest will be over that period of time. So what you can see is obviously in the early days, it's really all just capital that's building up. But then as time goes on, what you actually see as the part of the interest that you start to accrue becomes larger and larger with time. And that's the magic of it. It's the eighth wonder of the world. So where it takes us from the first year until year 35 years after is it brings us to $472,760 should we choose to put in $10,000 as the initial deposit, with regular deposits of $350,000, $10,000 over the space of 35 years, which gives us a total interest of $112,760 over the span of 35 years. Now, let's look at a more exponential growth in terms of the compound interest. So what we've got set up here is the more of a aggressive and more exponential growth strategy where the input and the time duration is exactly the same. So we've got the initial deposit of $10,000, the regular deposit of $10,000 annualized over the course of 35 years. But the interest rate that we're modeling to earn from our capital is at 8%. And where did I get this 8% from? It's a generalized figure that everyone tries to aim for to beat inflation in paper terms, usually through the stock market. It's a generalized and annualized growth that people can generally get back in a stock market if you average it out over years. So 8% growth is generally more or less a benchmark and ideal if you can let your money grow at that rate. So it's all a little bit theoretical, but let's just take a look at the graph of it because you're probably wondering, what does all this mean? So as we can tell, it's the space of 35 years, but because the annualized interest rate is at 8%, which is far higher than the 1.5% that we had it set at, pretty much by the time you're at the 20th year, you've essentially made more in interest than what you have with the overall deposit that you've put in, which would be 200K at that stage. But the total number of interest payment you would have received by then is in excess of 294,000, totaling your investment at that stage at about $504,000. Now, fast forward another 15 years, where do we end up? So after 35 years of investing, so you would have put in $350,000 over the space of 35 years. And if you would have allowed that to compound annually at 8%, you would have ended up at $1,871,000. That is a stark difference compared to the simplified interest model, where it's just $472,000. So you're pretty much making 4 times your money by consciously putting your capital to better use. Now, we'll go over this other strategies and so forth in future videos, but what I really wanted to highlight here is we can have the same amount of inputs, we could have the same amount of time, but what we choose to do with our time and how do we strategize our resource to the best of our abilities to give us the best amount of yield that we can make on our capital will really dictate what our, retirement will pretty much look like, or whenever we want to call it the end of our strategy and take out our capital, whatever your goals may be. So it's really, really important to understand what time and money means, and going back to this chart before as to, well, what sort of growth are you happy with? Are you on track to be able to meet your goals in accordance with your retirement goals or other financial goals that you've got set in mind? So if you've not done this exercise before, I would highly recommend you to use a compound interest calculator, which I'll be happy to copy this particular one onto the show notes for you if you choose to use it. But again, I would highly recommend this doing from time to time to make sure that you get a visual and a clear understanding of the trajectory that you're on with the finances that you've got set in motion at the moment. And if you feel that there needs to be more fuel put into the fires to make your capital grow, then that will lead into budgeting and smarter money management, which again we'll come back to at a later episode. So with all that being said, I want to leave you at that for now and just get you thinking, if you've not already, just about what time and money means and what the two means combined. And knowing our time is limited, how is it that we want to use our time? Are we happy to use it on these things that's going to make our capital grow? But also at the same time, a very, very important thing that we have to take in mind is, what does that mean for the life outside of our investments? What does that mean for ourselves mentally and physically? And also, what does that mean for those people that may be around us? Maybe our partner, our family, friends, loved ones. What does it mean in terms of the trade-off that you're willing to make as to the consequence that will eventuate to become reality if you decide to take action, especially in an aggressive way, by putting in all your available money into things? It means that you'll be deprived from resources of being able to potentially enjoy life, and to be able to socialize and be the person that you are. So a lot of things to be thought about. But I think that's enough rambling for this episode, and we'll obviously touch on the budgeting because it's a very, very important part as a next topic. But I do hope that you found this video useful. And again, if you enjoyed this content, please do subscribe to the channel. And if you like this video or have any thoughts, questions, if there's anything in particular you may want to learn, please like and comment, and yeah, please share your thoughts. All right, so that brings us to the end of this episode. So thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. Bye for now.